Hey, look at that, we're live.
We are live.
Hello and welcome to Handgun Radio. I'm your host, Ryan Bachad from the wild woods of central Maine, and this is your home for all the news, information, and discussion in the handgunning world. This week we talk about the mysterious Glock 46 as well as some CNR torture from Weird Beard. So as always, Handgun Radio is brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network. And please check out the Patriot Patch Company for their awesome patches and other high-quality items. Visit patriotpatch.co for more information. And shop Amazon using our affiliate link, firearmsradio.tv/Amazon. And Weird, if you wanted to help support Handgun Radio, how would you do?
I would get my CNR license and I would get a whole bunch of old handguns and I would send it to us and we could do reviews, we could talk about them, and we could sell them for profit. It would help us out immensely.
Well, we're going to talk about some of those CNR handguns.
You could also, I guess, head over to firearmsradio.tv/pledge and click on HGR, I guess.
And there are a bunch of different pledge levels over there, so we really appreciate it if you pledge your support to the show. And so, Weird, what did you do this week?
I didn't do much gun-related, but knowing, our general audience thing, you might be interested in both history and metallurgy. I went to the Saugus Ironworks in Saugus, Massachusetts, and it is really, really cool. They've got an old blast. They've got the blast. It's all replicas since most of the original ironworks is gone. But they've got a replica blast furnace. They've got a replica forge and the oh shoot, I forget what they call it, but now I forget the thing, but the part that works the metal bars into nail rods.
The anvil?
What's that?
Anvil?
No, it's a machining system, and it's all like water powered, and they've got the working water wheels, so they actually turn on the machines, and that's pretty cool. Like they had what is like if you watch like modern like blacksmithing stuff where they use like a hydraulic power hammer, they got one of those, and it's also hydraulic because it's powered by actual water. And it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. And also, since this is a firearms related channel, be wary. It is not a state park. It's a federal park. It's a national park. And so therefore, I actually did not see any signs posted anywhere like some of the national parks have, but supposedly you are allowed to carry on the sites of national parks, but you're not allowed to carry in any of the buildings still. So be wary.
So you just decided to go there as like a family vacation? Or?
Yeah, no, we were just doing. My wife was doing fun stuff in the Boston area, so
nice.
That was something we've been wanting to do. We'd heard about it and just said, "Oh, let's see what's going on there."
So this week we are also joined by Brett, who has been on the show before. Brett, how you doing?
Hello, Internet. Oh, wait, that's the wrong show.
Wrong show.
So did you do anything gun-related this week?
Actually, no. The only thing gun-related I did was dig out an old picture from my first deer hunting with a handgun. I killed a deer with a .44 Magnum, and I was looking for a picture. So that's the only thing gun-related I did. I've been really busy with work. So
let's go dorky here. Let's talk about what .44 Magnum and what was the load.
It was actually a 200 grain Winchester silver tip at the time, and I have a Smith & Wesson Model 29.3 Classic Hunter, one of the Lou Horton special edition ones. I picked it up used at a gun show table. Gosh, it was the third handgun I bought. I was 21, and I think I paid $330 for it.
Oh God, that's awesome.
Yeah, I still have it to this day. So,
yeah, and did how far did the deer go before it decided to give up?
Actually, about 25 yards. I've been pretty lucky. I've killed 5 deer with a .44 Magnum pistol over the years,
and all of them are pretty much dropped right in their tracks.
Yeah, it's
25 yards. That is why bother.
Yeah. And actually, that was probably the biggest one I ever got to. It was an 8-point, but all the others have been smaller than that. So,
and was it delicious?
Yeah, it was tasty.
They're so delicious.
I made jerky out of it.
Ryan, we need to kill one.
Yeah, I guess you got to come up here and go hunting.
Yeah, I got to figure out how to get which permits I need to get and what I need to do for that because I have not done much hunting in my life and I really need to change that.
So this past week, I've got my reloading bench set back up somewhat. It is halfway there. So when I get some more time this week, I'll be able to put the rest down there. But I used to have all these different trays set up for all my different brass and stuff that I was using at the time. So I got to get that all set back up. But it is nice to have my space again because I used to have to actually clamp the press to the table in the kitchen, and it didn't work out too well. So
Yeah, that doesn't seem like a lot of fun.
yeah, no, every time you want to reload like a small batch, it's a 20-minute process to set everything up and then do it and then take everything back down when you're done.
Also, it's what's nice too is because you're just using a single stage, right?
Right, yeah.
You could, in fact, also just do you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to resize and decap like 200 rounds.
Right.
Which is nothing. Super easy and all that. And you can like, and then you could turn around and just, well, I mean, you're using a hand primer, right?
Yeah. Actually, yes. No, I usually prime on the press.
Okay. Well, so in theory, it could be one of those like, oh, I've got like 5 minutes before I record a podcast or before I want to go to bed or something like that. You could just quickly, put the boy to bed, hop in and just do part of one reloading batch.
Right.
So you just got all the cases, set and, deprimed and resized and, if we're, using a bottleneck or something like that, if you're reloading rifle rounds, you could measure them all and make sure that they're all good to go. So then, and then later on you could prime them all and then save, just have a pile of primed cases just ready to go for when you want to do the actual, difficult part, which is just making sure they all get one good charge and get the bullets seated and crimped to the right depth and all that. That's the part where you need to concentrate on.
Right. Yeah, I mean, obviously don't separate the charge and other stages that are really important to pay attention to.
Yeah, no, I would go piecemeal all the way up to, sized and primed cases, and then from the sized and primed cases, I would go straight to finished bullet in one setting when you had a good clear part of time, because that's where things can go bad.
So you don't see any fear of contamination of the primers when you have primed cases? Humidity wouldn't get to them or anything like that?
I've never encountered that.
I mean,
I think I've done that a couple times.
Like cardboard boxes at your local gun shop.
I think I've done that a couple times where like I've primed.
I mean, in theory, to minimize it, I would store them, neck down in the or mouth down in a tray. I actually just saved the block, loading block. I actually just saved those little plastic trays that most of the ammo companies ship their ammo in. Those work beautifully for most stuff. But yeah, just store them upside down in a tray, and then maybe if it was like a couple of years or you're gonna it was. It's springtime's coming. I only reload, in the dead of winter. I know guys that like they have a reloading season. But yeah, if you're just reloading in the dead of winter and suddenly spring comes and you've got a whole bunch of cases and you're not going to get back to them until, next winter, maybe even then I'd load one up empty in the gun and pop the primer and see if it popped. Probably be okay.
Sure.
I don't think they're that picky.
So what was your drink segment this week, Weird?
So I actually just finished a gimlet, and we've talked about the gimlet before. So the gimlet, the basic recipe is 2 ounces of gin, 1 ounce of lime juice, and half an ounce of simple syrup. That's my go-to. It's a good drink. I love gin. Gin is actually my first love in the liquor world. But now you can substitute any liqueur for the syrup to give it a little bit of a different flavor profile. I mean, you could do, especially if you're using something like New Amsterdam that's got a lot of orange in it, you could use triple sec to get that kind of, make it a little bit more orangey. I personally really like St. Elderflower liqueur. That works well, but I feel like it needs a little something with that recipe. So I add a little bit of bitters. I actually have a lavender bitter that a friend gave me, and that's really good, and it works perfectly. And it just seems to add just a little bit of spicy bitterness to the drink to round it out. But I have this bottle from Grand 10 Distilling in here in Boston that is their Angelica liqueur, and that's made with Angelica root, which is just this kind of, it was used as a European medicinal for years and years, and it made its way into liquors because the liquor and the medicine world were kind of hand in hand for a long time. But I tried this stuff in. I said, you know what? This has got kind of a bitter taste to it, but it's you know, it's a liqueur, so it's sweet as well. It's very well balanced. Let me add a little bit this to my drink, and oh my goodness, like no bitters needed right out of the bat. That is a very well-rounded gimlet. So your mileage may vary. Unfortunately, you can only get this stuff in Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. But if you're in those areas or traversing those areas and you see a bottle of this stuff, it's not very expensive. I think it's like $20 a bottle, which not cheap, but given it's a small batch, you know, from a small distillery, pretty decent price. So I would highly recommend it, especially if you like gimlets.
I'm surprised they haven't reached up into New Hampshire, knowing the reach that the New Hampshire liquor store outlets have.
Yeah, but you need a certain volume in New Hampshire that a lot of small distilleries have a little bit of trouble getting to, because again, New Hampshire being a state-run monopoly, and a state that doesn't like state-run monopolies, they've made it so that if you're in Lebanon or some, you know, one of the weird little small towns, you know, near the Canadian border, near the New York border and all that, your little small liquor store is going to have everything that the one that's just outside of Concord, or it's on the, you know, on the Massachusetts border, that gets a lot of traffic. All the small ones have the same stock as the big ones. They might not have as many as all that other stuff, but they stock the exact same product. So if they're going to take on a line of liquor, they need to be able to stock every single store with the appropriate amount. And a lot of the small guys have a hard time meeting that demand, especially meeting that demand while making it so that the people that are in their backyard can still get their stuff.
Excellent. So with that, we'll head into the main topic, listener roundtable, and the Glock 46. So weird, you hadn't heard of this, and you purposely, I actually thought about texting you earlier today and sending you the link, but then I was like, you know what, I want to leave it a surprise for you.
I'm glad you didn't. This was very shocking.
Yeah. So I still don't know if we're being trolled or not. It's on recoil, and I have to believe that if it's on recoil, it does exist somewhere.
It looks like a legit press release.
I don't think recoil is trolling us, but somebody else might.
I mean, it would take a lot for them to be able to convince recoil that this happened, though.
But yeah, let's talk about what we're seeing here. What we're seeing here is the Glock 46. Mm-hmm. It's essentially a Gen 5 Glock 19
with a really big beaver tail.
With a really big beaver tail and a weird back plate. I don't understand that either. But
kind of looks like a Glock 18 back plate type of thing.
Well, the aftermarket.
Yes.
The auto sear back plates that had the little switch in the back, because the Glock 18 had the Beretta style safety for the fire selector. But then they've got a picture of the parts breakdown, and you see that the striker assembly is kind of weird, hence that back plate. But there is your standard 2-lug rotating barrel with a cam pin. So it's a rotary barrel Glock. Huh?
Why would Glock even try to get into that market?
Yeah, I don't know. But what do you think, Brett?
No, I don't know. I just I was doing some research, and I found a patent application, a U.S. patent filed for on August 10th, 2017.
Really? For a rotary barrel?
Yeah, for this. Yeah, it says it's for Glock technology. Talks about the rotating blocking device has a retaining platelet that's in a movable slot under the action for the spring. Yeah, it's essentially talking about the rotating bolt.
Well, it says here in the article, the G46 was reportedly made specifically for the German police, and there are some significant changes from previous models. Obviously.
Yeah. Man, well, if you found the patent for it, I mean, they wouldn't. Recoil's not trolling us. That's for sure. This is too nice of a press release and in way too German of a press release for it to be, for it to be a complete troll on them. But it could be the Glock was trolling somebody. But if they went and filed a patent, I mean, those aren't free. You don't do that for like a April Fool's joke. But
the other feature of the G46 is it can be taken down without ever having to pull the trigger.
Oh, I wonder if it comes apart by you undo the back plate and slide out the striker assembly, and then because it doesn't have the takedown lever either. The whatever you call the takedown tab.
Oh yeah, I just noticed that.
I just noticed that when.
Interesting.
So, but the big thing that I've got is there's no feed ramp on the barrel. Oh, there's a feed ramp on the oh, that might be how it works. Because I was thinking, since it's a rotating barrel, it's not going to have the Glock tilting barrel system. Because of course, everybody who's ever first started handling handguns has seen the lock the slide back on a Glock, and that barrel's tilting way up, and it's not parallel with the dust cover, and you're like, did I break it? Is it supposed to look like that? This gun would not. It's got a picture of the slide locked back, and the barrel and dust cover are perfectly parallel. And so I'm like, but how are the magazines going to work? Because of course the magazines have got a very aggressive feed angle, or not an aggressive feed angle, so they can feed directly into that barrel with minimal feed ramp interaction. But now there's a feed ramp actually on the receiver.
Yeah, I can't see them making a special 9mm magazine for this pistol. You'd think they would want to use the Glock 19, Glock 17 mag profile.
I'm not geeky enough to be able to look at the magazine they've got in the picture and be able to tell if the feed angle is exactly that of a Glock, but it looks pretty close.
Yeah, it does in the pictures. I have a few Glock 9mm, and it looks like that.
I don't know. It's interesting. I'd be curious to see if they bring it over here, if it is true.
Yeah, who knows? It could end up being a European only, like the full-size 380.
Well, that was in Europe only. That was just because they essentially converted a Glock 19 to blowback, direct blowback, instead of trying to put like a lighter spring into it and all that. It suddenly became unimportable because of the 922. Because that's the best-selling gun in Mexico. Because the big thing is, and it's a whole market for it is for countries that do not allow civilians to have guns in quote-unquote military calibers, of which 9mm and 45 are. So what they do is they get them in 380. Same idea with the 9x21 IMI.
Yeah, there's a lot of European countries do that as well. They won't let you have, I think it's Italy, won't let you have handguns in a military caliber.
Yeah, so they got all sorts of goofy guns in is it IMI or is it Action Express? I forgot what the 9x21, where it's a 9mm bullet loaded deeper into a slightly longer case that creates, and it's identical but to 9x19. It just won't chamber or fire in a 9x19.
Yeah, it's IMI, I believe.
Okay, and so it's identical. So again, all they got to do is just put a different barrel on the gun. It'll load, this round will load in the same magazines. It'll fire in the same gun. It's got the same recoil impulse, same recoil springs, same breech face. They just need a different barrel that'll chamber that slightly longer round. And you could probably even just remount a 9x19, and maybe that'll work. I don't know.
Boy, here's a second patent. They've got one on the rotating breech and one on the takedown feature.
Can you see anything with the takedown feature of how it might work?
No, it's a really it's a fairly complicated paragraph that doesn't make a lot of sense. So it basically says that backing plate is involved in it. Spring platelet is provided in the slot between the spring and retaining platelet, where the spring platelet is designed such that it can be partially extracted from the slot transversely with respect to the center plane of the pistol. In this extracted position, the spring platelet is pivotable together with the retaining platelet, which will result in the platelet passes out of the path, and basically the slide can be withdrawn forward after that.
Okay. Very interesting.
So in the
now here's one more thing I got to say about this though too is didn't Glock just come out with threaded barrels from the factory? This would make a lot more sense if Glock was still being stubborn about no, if you want a threaded barrel you have to go to Lone Wolf or somebody else.
I don't know. I bought a factory Glock 19 with a threaded barrel 3 years ago.
Yeah. But so, I mean, when you got a rotary barrel gun, it makes threaded barrels a little bit more challenging as you put reverse threads on them, or I don't know, maybe this rotates in the opposite direction. But you got to be careful with that. And even then, if it operates in the opposite direction, you've got to wonder, will the recoil impulse start binding the threads?
I guess I hadn't thought of it from that side.
Yeah.
So CNR guns, weird. You've been waiting for this for a while. You've been kind of giving me a hard time about it, and now we're going to talk about some CNR guns.
Yeah. Have you taken up the paperwork yet, or?
No, I haven't done that. I have not done that yet.
Well, you just need an afternoon. It's the easiest thing. It's so easy. But you're finally going to do it?
Maybe.
Well, I'm going to start bringing up the teasing you about not having your CNR to twice as showed until you have, just so you know.
Well, that'll be fine. I can deal with that.
But so yeah, you finally want to dip your toe into the water.
Oh, I figure I might as well have it because then I see all these guns that are on there, and it's like, oh man, for 2 C notes, I could have that gun delivered to me.
Yep, right to the front door.
For me, that was the big item was being able to order stuff for $200-300 and get it shipped right to the house.
Right. Yeah. It's so we're looking at some of the different websites. The first one we have here is a Colt 1917 45 ACP, which is not for 2 C notes. No. This is for $1,079.95, but it is a very good condition refurbished Colt 1917 U.S. Army revolver in 45 auto. Weird. Why do you not own one of these? I figured being the 45 aficionado that you are.
Yeah, but I'm not big on pistol caliber revolvers. That's one of those things I don't get. And I mean, they're cool and all, but they need moon clips. And again, they're like, if I could get one for $200, I'd have one. I'd absolutely have one. But overall, I don't get excited about the pistol caliber revolvers.
What if they made a Ruger LCR that held 6 shots of 45 auto, did not need moon clips, reliably extracted, and was reliable in every other way? Would you carry that?
No, I'd still carry one in 357. And 6 shots, so that would be the world's biggest LCR.
That'd be
I didn't say anything.
That'd be a Red Hawk sized LCR.
Yeah.
In which case, I'd carry a Red Hawk. I'd carry a Super Red Hawk in 454.
I need a DeSantis nemesis for a Ruger Red Hawk in 454.
And I need some clown pants to carry them in.
Those would be MC Hammer pants.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Same last name Hammer, first name MC.
Stanley.
So the next one, though, the P64 in 9x18.
I do have one of these.
You do have one of these. I remember this was like dragging a cement block down the roughest dirt road possible in the thickest mud possible for the longest time possible before the hammer broke and fell on the front.
Yes. But it is like dragging a feather through a murky swamp of gravel when it's single action, which is really hilarious because it's 20 pounds double action trigger pull, like 4 pounds single action.
How do you even do that? How is it so bad?
That's why I own it. That is absolutely why I own it. Is one, it's kind of a PPK, kind of, sort of, not really, kind of, maybe a PPK. And I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the PPK either, but I could get a bunch of cheap PPKs because Walther's practically giving them away. But this gun, it was literally the fact that it's a comm block gun, and I've got a thing for comm block guns. It's a 9x18. I love 9x18. It kind of looks like a PPK. That's a selling point. And the trigger pull is hilariously bad.
It's a trigger pull trainer.
What are you talking about? You're going to ruin whoever it is. Like, you don't train somebody on a bad trigger. It's like saying I'm going to drive stick shift in a car with a burnt out clutch. That's not nice.
It's like buying one of those things you use to strengthen your hands.
Yeah. There's another reason why it's not a trainer is most people will not be able to stroke the double action pull.
So why is it so bad, though?
I mean, I've heard the big thing was that there were some like 9x18 machine gun rounds that for some subgun. I don't even know what the 9x18 subgun was. And some of them had really hard primers, so they wanted that double action pull to be really, really hard so that they could touch off, like they'd make sure to touch off the primer. But I don't know. I don't think there's an excuse.
What's the Bison in 9x18?
Yeah, that's a modern one. No, that's a 90s by Ismash.
Let's see here. The Bison was in 9x18.
What year did that come out?
1996. So
well after the P 1964.
Submachine guns, 9x18, Scorpion VZ65. Oh, the rack.
There you go, PM63.
Yep, the PM63 rack. That fancy one with the big spoon flash hider that you could use to rack the gun on.
Yep.
And it had the slide on top of it. And that came out in 1965.
Yeah. That's right there in the wheelhouse. Yeah.
And that was also Polish.
What was the Stechkin?
Stechkin was 32, wasn't it?
No, Stechkin was 9x18, I believe.
Stechkin 9x18.
Yep. And that came out in 1951.
Yeah. So that could be it. But that's just the story I've heard. I've heard no historical recounts on that exactly what it is. I've just heard that that's something that could have been done through. I know the Scorpion in 9x18. Those are hen's teeth rare, and I don't think that they really got a whole lot of play.
So kind of the same thing with this next one, the Romanian Topper TTC semi-auto pistol in 7.60 by 2.5. Good, very good CNR, used for $199.95.
Yeah.
That's
if you're into this,
bad.
I ended up getting the CZ52 instead. I liked that for my 7.62 by 25.
A lot of people
these are not as interesting as as exciting as they used to be, because you can't buy like huge spam cans of 7.62 by 25 for like $50.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
That ammo dried up quick.
It disappeared.
A friend of mine has the M57, the Yugoslavian one. And that's the one that I've shot more than the actual Russian one.
How is it to shoot?
Oh, it was fine. It felt just like, it wasn't that bad. A lot of flash, a lot of noise.
What's the trigger like?
Not bad. I mean, it was a little bit heavy, but it's also single action, so it's not going to be terrible. Apparently they only have one. Oh, it's out of stock. Well, okay, don't follow that link because they're out of stock.
Southern Ohio Guns has one, the M57.
Yeah.
229.
Yeah, that's the Yugoslavian one. And the final two down here, weird. The Smith & Wesson Model 14 in 38 Special, which I was surprised to see these on here. Usually, we've become accustomed to seeing guns like the Tokarev or the Makarov, the P64, or anything like that. But you see an old Smith & Wesson revolver.
Yeah. Of course, it's
Special.
$880, but that's a pretty gun.
Man, it looks in really good condition too.
That's a K-frame, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful grips on it.
The Target Masterpiece,
Mm-hmm.
I believe. Pinned 6-inch barrel, black adjustable rear and partridge front sight, excellent bore chambers and mechanical condition, target hammer and trigger. Manufactured circa 1960.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at the trigger. It's got that big fat serrated blade trigger. Those are nice.
But the other link in here is the Model 14 revolver, not the Model 14, the M&P 38. And these used to be a little bit more plentiful. And this was one of the first ones I've actually seen out in the wild in some time for sale.
Yeah, they've got it listed as very good plus for $620, which is actually that's a pretty good deal. I don't think we're going to see prices like that for much longer.
Yeah, and the thing is, you used to be able to buy these for like $200 a pop, like in the early '90s and stuff.
Yeah, especially the M&P. I mean, this is the Model 10,
right?
For those not in the know, they called it the M&P when they started selling it as a military sidearm, and try to get it for police. But police had to have used them, but I hear more about them as military guns.
This one doesn't have like the dime, the half dime front sight. It's actually got the ramped front sight too. So yeah, that is a beautiful gun.
But again, old Smith & Wesson revolvers, they're only going to go up in price.
Yeah. I think of the three of them they have listed there, that Model 14 would be the one I would want.
Oh yeah, my God, yeah. Those are the way to go. I like the ones that are like in 44 Special. I find those really interesting. I know a friend of mine has one of the like hand ejectors in end frame size in 44 Special with a 6-inch barrel. Oh, and that thing is such a pleasure to shoot.
Oh, yeah, I like 44 Special as a round too.
And again, another thing to point out about this is, it's the surplus houses are great and good, but also at the same time, if you're just like on Gunbroker or just know somebody in a different state that has a gun that's over 50 years old, so somebody's sitting on an old, I don't know. What do we call? Name a weird 32 ACP World War II gun.
Colt 1903.
Yeah.
Colt. Yes, someone who's got a Colt. I was thinking about something more obscure. What was that? You never saw that. Waldo's got a weird. I think it's
Mauser 1914.
32. Forget what it's called. But.
Well, if it was like World War I, it probably could be called Bob's 32 or something.
Yeah, no, it was I think it's World War I, World War II era.
Like a Sauer 38.
No, but if someone you bump into someone that's got a Sauer 38, and they don't even somebody that's on the Facebook group, and I got a Sauer 38. You could text them and say, "Hey, man, what would you like for that?" And they could send it right to your door. Ta-da! Or have their local gun shop send it right to your door. So it's not just for dealing with the surplus houses. I've got all my local gun shops have my CNR on file, and I'll just walk in and I'm like, oh, they got a Mosin Nagant that I want, or they got a some old gun that I want. I'll just literally have Savage 32. I could literally just say, yep, I'll take it, and they just you know, we just gotta fill out a little quick transfer form, but there's no background check. There's no waiting around. Like, it's so fast. Just boom, boom, gone.
Excellent. So hopefully by the next couple episodes, I'll have that. We will get off my back.
But until then.
So with that, we'll head into the wrap-up section and close out the show. Don't forget to shop Brownells using our affiliate link. Head to firearmsradio.tv and click the affiliate link in the upper right-hand corner. Be sure to go like Handgun Radio on Facebook and share it with your friends. Leave us a review on iTunes. It helps the show get noticed. Listen to all the great shows on the Firearms Radio Network, including the Guns of Hollywood podcast. Be sure to visit the Firearms Insider for reviews and more awesome content. And be sure to check out the Firearms Radio Network on YouTube. And Weird, where can people find you?
You can find me at my blog, which is weirdworld.com. You can also find me at the Squirrel Report and the Gun Blog Variety Cast. And as I'm saying this, as I'm saying this, the Brett's hitting the putting the trigger improvement kit on there. Brett, I had a friend talk about putting the Wolf spring kit into their P64, and he said it went from being the worst trigger I've ever had to being an unremarkably bad trigger. just you'll go from being no, seriously, try this trigger to it feels like a Taurus Beretta clone. So don't bother. You're ruining the coolness of the gun. The whole point is the trigger sucks. And again, that light single action trigger is actually it is a good training trigger for just most people will say a good trigger is a light trigger, a bad trigger is a heavy trigger. But yet I've got a J frame that has got a 12-pound trigger pull, more than likely. I don't have a trigger pull scale because, again, I don't care about trigger weight. And a J frame, it's got a heavy trigger, but man, that sucker's smooth. It doesn't stack and it breaks clean. Beautiful trigger. And then on the other hand, I've got this P64 that when you cock the hammer back, it's got like 4 pounds. The trigger is nothing. It's super duper light. And yet it is gritty. It is mushy. I don't think it really stacks all that much, but it over travels. It over travels like nobody's business. And that's a terrible trigger, but it's light. So it's good to teach people on what makes a bad trigger.
So Weird, we got to tell people here before we go, we are going to be hosting This Week in Guns this coming Friday. At, I believe, 10 p.m.-ish. And, it's going to be one hell of a show. That sounds exciting. I can't wait. It's the first time I've ever been on that show. Oh, it's going to be fun. Be sure to check that out. There will be a link on the Firearms Radio YouTube channel. So This Week in Guns Live with Ryan Machad and Weirdbeard. Brett, thank you so much for coming on the show. Again, we always appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for having me. Enjoyed it. All right, and until next week, have fun and safe shooting.